Her seduction night was meant to secure a dynasty. Instead, it ended in a chilling silence that echoed through the palace walls. By dawn, the princess, a pawn in a game of power, was found lifeless in the chambers of a king she was meant to ensnare. She was young, a jewel of the court, celebrated for her radiant beauty and a purity that seemed almost divine. In a kingdom teetering on the edge of civil war, she was more than just a princess. She was the ultimate political asset, a living symbol of a fragile, brokered peace. Her hand in marriage had been promised to the aging, widowed king of a rival dynasty, a man whose sons were vying for the throne and threatening to tear the realm apart. This union was meant to be the masterstroke, a political maneuver designed to quell the rising tides of bloodshed and unite two powerful houses that had been at each other's throats for generations. The marriage would not only prevent a war, but also, it was hoped, produce an heir to solidify the new alliance. The grand wedding feast was an affair of legendary opulence, a spectacle that stretched on for 3 glorious days and nights. The finest wines flowed like rivers, and tables groaned under the weight of exotic delicacies from every corner of the known world. Minstrels sang ballads of heroic love and eternal devotion, their melodies weaving a tapestry of hope over the deep-seated animosity that still lingered between the two courts. Lords and ladies, draped in silks and jewels, toasted to the new era of prosperity, their laughter masking the nervous calculations and whispered conspiracies that unfolded in the shadowed alcoves of the great hall. The entire kingdom held its breath, its future pinned on the success of this monumental union. As the festivities drew to a close, an expectant hush fell over the court. Everyone, from the highest noble to the lowliest kitchen hand, awaited the consummation of the marriage, the wedding night. This was not merely a private moment between husband and wife. It was a public spectacle in its own right, a symbolic act of union that would be scrutinized and discussed for weeks to come. The bedding ceremony was a state affair, a ritual laden with centuries of tradition, meant to confirm the alliance and set the stage for the conception of a royal heir. The hopes and anxieties of 2 kingdoms converged on the door to the royal bedchamber, behind which the fate of the future would be sealed. But behind the heavy, brocaded curtains and the ornate, carved doors, the princess was not a symbol of hope. She was a young woman gripped by a paralyzing fear. Her hands trembled as her ladies-in-waiting undressed her, their practiced movements feeling like the cold, impersonal preparations for a sacrifice. The silken bridal gown, which had been admired by thousands, now felt like a shroud. She was a pawn in her father's grand design, a beautiful offering laid upon the altar of political ambition. Every whispered blessing from her attendants sounded like a premonition of doom. Every glance in the mirror showed not a queen, but a lamb being led to the slaughter. Awaiting her in the torchlit chamber was the groom, a man old enough to be her grandfather, his reputation preceding him like a dark, ominous shadow. He was a king renowned not for his wisdom or justice, but for his insatiable appetites and a cruelty that had become the stuff of whispered legend. His previous wives had all met untimely ends, their deaths shrouded in convenient illnesses and tragic accidents that no one dared to question. The servants in his palace spoke in hushed tones of his dangerous and perverse desires, of chambers where pleasure and pain were indistinguishable, and of a darkness that clung to him like a second skin. He was not a husband. He was a predator, and she was his new, unwilling prey. As the ancient, binding rituals of the wedding night began, the princess fought to resist. These were not tender rites of passage, but cold, calculated procedures forced upon her, each one stripping away another layer of her dignity. Her pleas for mercy were met with stony silence. her struggles dismissed as the predictable anxieties of a virgin bride. The air in the chamber grew thick with the scent of heavy incense and cloying perfumes, mingling with the metallic temps of her own fear. Some later whispered that she was drugged, that a powerful sedative had been mixed into her ceremonial wine to make her more compliant. Others insisted that a slow-acting poison was administered, a cruel and final solution to some unspoken problem. Whatever the method, her will was systematically broken. When the first rays of dawn crept through the high arched windows, the chamber was unnervingly silent. The usual sounds of a new day, the stirring of servants, the distant call of the guards were absent. An eerie stillness had fallen over the royal wing, a heavy, suffocating quiet that spoke of something gone terribly wrong. A handmaiden, sent to attend to the new queen, pushed open the heavy oak door and stifled a scream. There, on the magnificent bridal bed, amidst the rumpled silks and scattered pillows, the princess lay lifeless. Her eyes were open, staring blankly at the canopy above, her youthful beauty frozen in a final, tragic tableau. The king immediately and vehemently claimed his innocence. He spoke of a delicate constitution, of a bride overwhelmed by the excitement and pressures of her new role, who had simply passed away in her sleep. But the story began to unravel under the silent testimony of the evidence. Dark, telltale bloodstains marred the pristine white sheets of the bridal bed, a stark and brutal contradiction to his tale of a peaceful passing. Her death was not quiet. It was violent. The news ripped through the kingdom like a shockwave, and a carefully constructed marriage alliance, the very foundation of the supposed new era of peace, crumbled into dust. The threat of war, once deferred, now returned with a vengeance, fueled by grief and a thirst for retribution. In the taverns and marketplaces, the common folk whispered a different truth. They said it was not politics that had killed the young princess, but lust. They spoke of a depraved king whose desires had finally consumed an innocent, a man whose appetites could not be controlled even for the sake of his own kingdom. The official cause of death remained a mystery, debated by scholars and courtiers for decades to come. Was it a tragic accident, a ritual gone horribly wrong in the hands of a decadent monarch? Or was it a cold-blooded, calculated murder, an execution disguised as a wedding night, designed to eliminate a political inconvenience before she could become a threat? The princess's father, the king who had orchestrated the marriage, ordered absolute silence on the matter. Royal decrees were issued, forbidding any mention of the true circumstances of her death under penalty of treason. He sought to erase the inconvenient and shameful end of his daughter, to bury the truth beneath a mountain of official lies. But truth, like water, always finds a way to the surface. Forbidden poems and sorrowful ballads began to circulate in secret, passed from hand to hand, preserving the story that the powerful wished to forget. The minstrels sang of the bride of blood and the rose of the north, ensuring that her memory would not be extinguished. Her tragic tale became a powerful and enduring warning, a grim lesson whispered to the daughters of power for generations. It was a stark reminder that in the ruthless Game of Thrones, they were often nothing more than decorated pawns, their lives and bodies commodities to be traded for alliances, land, and influence. Their beauty and virtue were not shields, but targets, making them vulnerable to the ambitions and cruelties of men. Even centuries later, long after the warring dynasties have faded into the annals of history, the princess is still remembered. She is not known by the name she was given at birth, but by the title she earned in death, the Bride of Shadows.